Hello everybody! So we are going live again today. So I've actually got my friend Saul Blinkoff coming on today. And he's such an amazing guy. I really can't wait for this episode today. So I'm just going to wait for a few people to join in. It's going to be so good. So yeah, I really cannot wait. So just tune in and listen in, people. This guy is absolutely incredible. Hi everybody, thank you for coming on. Hello everybody. Thank you so much for coming on, people. So I'm just waiting for my friend Saul. He's about to come on now. But this guy is absolutely incredible. Here he is now. So, guys, thank you for joining. And yeah, tune in and listen into this episode because it's going to be absolutely incredible. Saul works for some of the biggest studios in Hollywood. The likes of, say, Netflix, Disney, Dreamworks. Honestly, this guy is insane. And here we go. Here he comes, people. Cannot wait for this episode. So,
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm good, my friend. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. So happy to be here.
Oh no, thank you so much for coming, Saul. So yeah, I mean, like the reason why I brought you here today, because I heard you a little while back. The first time that I heard you was on Clubhouse, right? And the way that you told your story of, say, you growing up and your vision and what you wanted to achieve in your life, it just impacted me so much, and it hit me straight in the heart. And I just thought, there's so many people out there that could take so much away from hearing your journey and your story. So I literally had to reach out to you and get you to come here to share it with some of my audience too. So just I want to say thank you before you even started for coming here today and yeah, sharing your amazing words because I know it's going to have such an impact.
Excellent. Well, first of all, just hearing you say that my story inspired you is the most meaningful thing I could hear. And I hope everyone listening realizes, all of us really are living our own story. And when we share anything from our lives, especially through our struggles, then other people relate to us, and it's incredible how other people can be uplifted from our own story. So I urge everyone, always share your life story. Share your struggles, share your downs and your ups with people and connect with them, and you'll see it has a ripple effect that's pretty amazing. I just want to make sure, can you guys hear me okay? Is the audio and everything is good?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can see you well. If everyone else agrees, give us a little wave in the chat to make sure you're all here and you can all hear us okay. But Sol, yeah, I can hear you fine, my friend.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm so happy to be here, Ryan. Thank you for having me, man.
No, thank you. So again, the reason why I brought you here today is to obviously share a bit about your journey. But what I want to know mainly, Sol, is say what did life look like for you growing up? And I know I've heard your journey, and it's incredible. So I want you to sort of share with us here
Sure. Oh,
what
it'd
did
be
your
my
life look
pleasure.
like growing up? Maybe some of
Yeah.
the challenges that you went through, and what had to happen in order to get you to where you are today.
Excellent. Well, I grew up in New York. I have a twin sister and a brother who's a year older. And when I was growing up, I was kind of the black sheep of the family. My brother was a sports guy, A student. My sister, A student, academic, writer, loved Agatha Christie as a teenager. But growing up, really, my outlet was creativity. I used to draw all the time. I used to draw on everything. I actually used to draw on the walls with my mother's lipstick when I ran out of paper. And I one time even drew on my sister's forehead. I drew it with a Sharpie marker. It would last longer. And I said to my mom, Mom, you should put my sister on the fridge with the rest of the artwork, because my mom always used to put my artwork on the fridge. My sister didn't like that idea. But I knew that when I grew up, I was going to be an artist. That was my goal. That was my dream. And then I was 11 years old. I went to the movies and I saw a movie that changed my life. I saw the movie E.T. Remember that movie? Yeah.
Yeah,
So I see that movie and I was like, wow, tapping my mom at the end of the movie. I'm like, Mom, that's what I want to do someday. And she's like, what, you want to leave planet Earth in a spaceship? And I'm like, no, Mom, I want to make movies. And that was really my goal. I didn't know how to make movies. I didn't know even that you could have a job that was creative, because people I knew were doctors, lawyers, teachers, business owners. And I knew that I was going to make movies someday, somehow. So I went to the library and I got books on cameras, lenses, storyboarding. I found out the director of E.T., Steven Spielberg, used to make movies every weekend with kids in the neighborhood. And so I got a camera, a film camera. And I started making movies. I got my sister, my older brother, and I was making murder movies, monster movies. I made a kidnap movie. One movie, I tied my sister up to a tree really tight. I still remember we go into the house to watch the movie, and my mom's like, "I like the movie, but where's your sister?" I said, "Well, she's still tied to the tree. What's wrong?" You know. So I knew I was going to make movies. And then, Ryan, I got to high school. I was a sophomore in high school, and somebody came up to me. And they said, "What are you going to do when you get out of high school?" I said, "Well, I want to be a filmmaker." They're like, "No, you don't want to do that." I said, "No, I really do." They go, "No, you don't, because if you want to be a filmmaker, you're going to have to move out to Hollywood. And Hollywood is filled with strange weirdos." They looked at me and said, "You don't want to end up a weirdo, do you?" And I'm telling you right then and there, I gave up on my dream of wanting to be a filmmaker because one person told me I would end up a weirdo. And I just want everyone listening to know, so often we give people the power over us. We give people the power over what we think we can accomplish or not. And at that point, I was impressionable. So I gave up on my dream of wanting to be a filmmaker. And instead, my parents were like, what do you want to do? And I said, "Well, I want to go back to being an artist." So I have incredibly supportive parents, Ryan. And my mom and dad hired an art teacher. And she came to our home. And she would teach me to draw from life. Amazing teacher. She used to say, "Saul, drawing is about seeing. Develop your eye to look at the world a certain way." And so I was also terrible at drawing hands. If there's any artists out there, you'll know that hands are very difficult. I was terrible at drawing hands. And this teacher said to me, "Oh, if you're bad at drawing hands, draw your hand from a different position every single night before you go to bed. And you know what'll happen? You'll get better at drawing hands." And she taught me really one of the best lessons of life, which was, it's very important when we do have a goal to accomplish something that we get ourselves out of our comfort zone to address our weakness and turn it into our strength. What an incredible teacher that was. So I got drawings together. I was going to be an artist. And then I went to the movies again. I was a junior in high school, and I went and saw the movie, The Little Mermaid. Right? How many people know that movie? I'm looking in this chat right now. See if everybody should know that movie. Amazing movie. And I watched the movie, The Little Mermaid, and I'm tapping my mom at the end. I'm like, "Mom, no. That's what I want to do." And she's like, What do you want to do?" I'm like, "You want to fall in love with a fish?" I'm like, "No, Mom, I want to be a Disney animator." And, guys, I grew up in New York. Like I said, I wanted to be a Disney animator. I didn't know how to do that. There was no internet then. You want to be a Disney animator today? You go to Google, you type in, "How do you become a Disney animator?" and you'll find out. Well, this is before the internet, right? So there was no Google. So how do you find out how to become something? Well, supportive mom took me to Disney World. She literally took me to Disney World. She's walking me around Disney World, just asking people, how can my son become a Disney animator? And we were getting on the boat ride. I think it was It's a Small World. Yeah, we're stepping on that boat. And the Disney employee is like, "How many people in your party?" We're like, "2." We're stepping on the boat. And my mom's like, "By the way, my son wants to be a Disney animator. Can you help him?" It was very embarrassing, actually. The lady at Disney is like, "Ma'am, this is a boat ride, Like, we don't hire animators here." So we go on the little boat ride. We come off the boat. And then the lady says, "Look, if you want your son to work for Disney, you got to take him to the Disney casting building." It was 4 minutes away from where we were in Disney World. And it was amazing. Can you imagine what a Disney office building looks like? It was beautiful. It was whimsical. It had doorknobs that were made from brass, that were made to look like the ones from Alice in Wonderland, the ones that spoke, that talked. I open up these doors. I walk into this atrium, and I'm standing there, and there's gold statuettes of Mickey, Donald, Pluto, Goofy. Even the air was like Disney air, right? Like pixie dust in the air, Ryan? And it was just amazing. Finally, I'm sitting there for the interview, and the woman says to me, "What are you doing?" I said, "I want to be a Disney animator." She goes, well, we don't hire those here. I said, well, who do you hire? She goes, "Well, we hire people that work the rides in Disney World." That's where you are. You're in Disney World. "We hire people that make the Dumbo ride go up and down." And so I'm like, "Oh, that's not me." She goes, well, hold on a second. And she walks out of the room, comes back in 2 minutes later, and hands me a piece of paper. And that piece of paper became the most valuable piece of paper I ever held in my hands. That paper was a list of 8 schools, 8 art schools that Disney recruits their artists from. And she said to me, if you want to be a Disney animator, you need to go to one of these schools. Boom. That was it. That was the equation. That was the moment where I realized exactly how to accomplish what I want. And for everyone listening, just think right now for a moment. If the stars were in line and you could achieve any goal that you have, and believe me, we all have goals. If the stars were in line and you could achieve any goal that you have, the most important thing to know after you have that goal is, how do I accomplish it? And there is no excuse today in 2022 with the technology we have to not make the investigation to find out how. You know, you go to a great restaurant, you taste, I don't know, tiramisu, whatever you like. You can make it at home if you have the recipe. Well, that list of 8 schools was the recipe, Ryan, right? That was the equation in my head. Saul plus go to one of these schools will equal dream. And that's really where it started for me. That's really how the whole dream became the first step into materializing itself into reality.
Wow, like, oh my God, like, I just got the same feeling, you know, like when I first heard you in Clubhouse, and that story, I mean, you could just tell it exactly the same, and I would listen to it again and again and again. So there's so much, Sal, I took away from that.
Well, that's just the beginning, you know.
I know, right? So I just want to start by saying a lot of your success comes down to, I believe, like, you owe your sister big time, right? To start
Yeah,
with.
for sure.
So your
For
sister,
sure.
but also your mum, like the supportive parents, because I'm sure many people that are listening to this or who will listen to this back, they maybe think they don't have, say, supportive family, loved ones, parents, etc. So how important would you say it is to have a supportive parent or parents?
Oh, well, I would say it's helpful. I wouldn't say it's a must. You know, there's many people out there that I meet, especially in the creative world and in the artistic world, who don't have supportive parents. And, you know, for those people, you can't make an excuse like, well, I could have been this if my parents allowed me. Because there becomes a point when we become adults and we grow up and we have to take the responsibility for our own lives. Is it helpful to have supportive parents? It's helpful for a couple of reasons. Number one, there's 2 things they provide. One is they provide that extra belief in yourself. You know, Ryan, when I got to art school, I remember the first week in school, there was a Disney representative that came to our school. And he stood on the stage in an auditorium. There were 750 students in that auditorium, every freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. And this guy from Disney, who was at least 70 years old, one of the original animators on Sleeping Beauty in the 50s, used to hang out with Walt Disney. He gets up on that stage and he says, he looks out to us and he goes, how many of you people want to be Disney animators? And I'm telling you, Ryan, every hand went up. And he goes, just so you know, out of the 750 of you, maybe, just maybe 4 of you will ever work there. That's how competitive it is. And when he said that, I remember thinking one thing. I wonder who the other 3 are going to be. Because in life, you either believe in yourself that you can accomplish or you don't. And people say to me all the time, like, Saul, what made you believe in yourself? What made you believe out of those 750 that you could accomplish that? And I really think that is something that my parents provided me. They gave me that support and belief in myself when I doubted myself. You know, each one of us, every single person in the world has the shoulder angel and the shoulder devil. That invisible little voice, that shoulder angel telling us that we can be great, we can change the world, we can accomplish. And then there's also that shoulder devil that tells us, you know what? Who do you think you are? You can't accomplish. You're just a normal person. Stay in bed. Hit the snooze again. Eat another cupcake. You're not going to the gym, right? There's that duality, that fight going within us. And we have to listen to that shoulder angel. Sometimes that shoulder angel takes the face of a supportive parent or a friend. But sometimes, and actually all the time, you know who has to be that shoulder angel? Ourselves. When we look in the mirror, we need to see our own limitless potential. And that's what my parents provided me. We can't listen to that shoulder devil. We can't give in to that. You know, it's very difficult. People who are listening right now, you know, it's very difficult to get up every day and to make efforts to grow our business, to grow our relationships. If you're married, you know marriage is difficult. If you're raising kids, you know parenting is difficult. If you have any career that you care about, anything you want to be great in, you know it takes effort and work. And it's difficult. And every day it's like, you know, Dory says in Finding Nemo, just keep swimming. It's hard, right? It's hard to keep going, to keep swimming. But ultimately, that motivation to keep going has to come from ourselves. We can't rely on other people to motivate us because sometimes people will let us down. We have to rely on ourselves. It's nice to see all the people in the chat here. Love seeing people on there.
Again, so powerful what you said there about, say, relying on yourself, because at the end of the day, some people say let themselves down, right? So they're not going to be worried about letting you down as well if they're prepared to let themselves down.
That's
But
right.
what I want to go back a sort of step as well. You said at the start, like you had this dream, this vision that one day I want to be an animator for Disney. Like I want to work at Disney. And then someone said to you, "Oh, you don't want to move to Hollywood. Like the weirdos are there." I believe in life, like you have to be different to make a difference. And you mentioned the word black sheep. And again, I'm sure
Yeah.
so many people are feeling like they're the black sheep of the family or their friends or their network, their group. But I also say, you know, never ever let someone who was either too scared to go after or who gave up on their dreams talk you out of achieving yours.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. You know, I travel the world and speak to audiences a lot. And when I do that, especially when I speak to teenagers or, you know, people in their 20s who are impressionable, I say the same message. Don't ever let others define how you feel about yourself. Listen to it again, everybody. Listen, it's so important. Don't ever let other people define how you feel about yourself. I didn't say don't let others define how you think about yourself. It's your feeling. Don't let other people define if you appreciate who you are, if you love yourself. And don't think that message is just for teenagers. It's for all of us. 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 80-year-olds. Don't look for outside validation. We need to validate ourselves. You know, when I was in school and that Disney representative was talking about, you know, only four of you would ever get into Disney. The next thing he said was, if you want to get into Disney, then you're going to need a portfolio of drawings of people and animals from life. And he was saying you need a figure drawing portfolio. No cartoon characters, he said. We want to see you draw people and animals from life. So I went and took figure drawing classes, and I would go. One day I actually went with a buddy of mine, Andy. I met this guy named Andy, freshman year of college, and he was by far the best artist in the school because the guy never stopped drawing. I mean, he was amazing, really incredible artist. And he became my best friend. And I want everyone listening to know, you know, think about for a moment who your friends are, because who you choose to be friends with actually affects who you become. Listen carefully. Who you choose to be friends with actually affects who you become. You know, Ryan, you know, I host a podcast called Life of Awesome. And in my podcast, sometimes I'm sharing ideas myself, and sometimes I interview some incredible people. I've had George Foreman, the heavyweight boxer, and he also made The Grill. I had Alan Menken. He wrote all the music to Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Hunchback. I mean, tons of Disney movies, Enchanted, Little Shop of Horrors, Broadway star, amazing. I just had Lea Salonga on last week. She does the singing voice of Mulan and Jasmine, starred in the Saigon Les Mis. Incredible people on the podcast. But there was one guy on the podcast I had whose name you probably haven't heard. Maybe you have. His name is Tim Story. And if you haven't heard this guy's name, you need to go find out who he is, people, because this guy, Tim Story, is the life coach to the stars. And on the podcast, I asked him, I said, Tim, you know everybody. I mean, he knows everybody in town. You name it. Justin Bieber, like you name the star. Tim knows these people. He's the life coach to Oprah Winfrey. Okay. The guy knows people. And I said to him, Tim, what's the number one thing that you find makes people who are famous not just successful at career, but successful at life? Listen again. I asked him, I didn't ask him, what does it take to make people famous? I asked him, what does it make them to be successful at life? And he says to me, it's their green room. What does that mean, their green room? The green room is, for those people that don't know, when you're going on a TV show or any picture like the Ellen show, where's those stars hanging out before they go out on stage? Before Jimmy Fallon calls them out on stage and goes, ladies and gentlemen, my guest tonight is Justin Bieber, and he comes out. Where did he come out from? Well, every studio has what's called the green room, and it is the room where all the stars hang out. There's little TV monitors, and they're hanging out, they're eating, they bring special foods and plates and platters and stuff, and they're hanging out there ready to go. There's a mirror, there's a bathroom, whatever, there's couches. Every studio has it. And then the assistant comes out. They got their headphones. They're like, Mr. Bieber, you're on in 2 minutes. Please get ready. You know. And what did Tim Story say? He says, you know what makes people successful at life is who do they have in their green room with them? Who's their entourage? Who are their friends? Who's their family that's closest to them? It's those people. When you see celebrities that go off the path in life, get reckless, usually they don't have friends that support them. Let me tell you what I mean by a real friend for a moment. Let's say you have a job promotion opportunity and you get passed up for the job. You go home, you're on the phone, you go out for a drink with your friend, and you tell your friend, you know, my boss, they're such losers, man. My boss should have hired me. They're such losers. What do they know? What if your friend sitting next to you at that bar puts the beer down and looks at you and goes, you know what? You probably should not have got that job. I kind of agree with your boss. You'd be like, dude, what are you talking about? I thought you were my friend. They'd be like, well, I am your friend. Did you notice how you came in late to work last week, like 3 days in a row? Did you notice how when you take lunch for an hour, sometimes it's an hour and 15 minutes? Maybe you should take your work more seriously, and then others would take you seriously. You see, that's what a friend is there to do. A friend is there to lift us up, to help us grow. And Andy became that for me in college because Andy was the best artist I knew. But he also was the best artist because he had the best work ethic, the best values. He had the best discipline. And I remember one day, actually, my sophomore year, I got my best drawings together. What's up, Dad podcast? Love to see all these great people in there. I love seeing the people. One day, sophomore year, I got my drawings together, my best work together, and I sent them into Disney. And I got a letter back that I got rejected. Now, look, you know, I didn't care that I got rejected. I didn't expect to get in on the first try. I was actually happy the Disney company knew I was alive, right? They had my name printed on an envelope. I thought that was pretty cool. So another year goes by, and I'm working on my drawings more. And Andy and I go to the zoo one day. Listen to this story, everybody. Everybody who just joined, if I'm telling you, this is the story that is the game changer. You're going to love this. Listen to this carefully. So one day, me and Andy, with the rest of our class, we go to the zoo to draw animals for our portfolio to get into Disney. And there's got to be about, I don't know, 14, 15 students. We get on the bus, we get to the zoo, and that day in Columbus, Ohio, happens to be a bitter, cold, freezing day. I mean, freezing. And we get to the zoo. The first thing we do is we go into this little Wendy's cafe that they had there in the zoo. And we get like hot coffee and we're just warming up. And after about 3 minutes, Andy and I sharpen the pencils, my best friend, right? And we go out through the zoo and it's freezing. And we find like, what animal are we going to draw? That was always what we would do. We'd walk around the zoo until we find which animal we were in the mood to draw that day. like what animal was out. Sometimes you go to the zoo and the animals are hiding or they're sleeping, they're under a rock, you can't see them. But this one particular day, an elephant was just walking back and forth in its area, in its pen. And it just would go there and turn around and walk back. And we're like, oh my God, this is the best thing, because we're studying movement, right, Ryan? We're studying animation. So just seeing this elephant walk back and forth was the best thing. We sat there shivering and we're drawing this elephant for an hour. It was just the best. Afterwards, we go into the bus and we watch and we're showing each other our artwork. I'm like, dude, let me see what you drew. And Andy's like, let me see what you drew. And I'm showing him, like, oh, that's awesome. Look how you did that. And then I said to one of the other guys, I said, hey, we said to the rest of the students, we never saw you guys at the elephants. You would have loved it. What animals were you guys drawing? And one of the guys looks to me and he says, well, we never drew any animals. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, we never left the Wendy's. We never left the cafe. We couldn't leave. I said, why couldn't you leave? He goes, because it's too cold. Oh, it's too cold. You mean it's too painful? You mean it's too difficult? You mean you'd have to get out of your comfort zone? You see, it's one thing to dream big. It's another thing to work big. If you guys watch any documentary about anybody that's achieved anything successful, I don't care. Last Dance, Michael Jordan. I mean, I've watched that 3 times. I just finished it again the 3rd time. I can't get enough of that documentary. I love it. But if you watch any documentary, do you know what people who achieve great things all have in common? One thing. You know what they do? They work through pain. They work through struggle. Michael Jordan became Michael Jordan because he took 1,000 jump shots every single day before breakfast. Michael Jordan became Michael Jordan because the day after they lost that playoff game to the Orlando Magic, and now he has his summer vacation. It's a true story. He calls up his training coach and says to his training coach, we got to start working out. And the guy's like, yeah, when do you want to meet? Like in a couple of weeks? And he goes, Jordan's like, no, tomorrow morning. Tomorrow. We're going to meet tomorrow at 6 a.m. As a matter of fact, I want the entire team at the gym tomorrow at 6 a.m. People that achieve great things get out of bed early. They push through pain. That's how we have to look at life, by the way. And what's painful in life? Everything. Relationships. What do you mean relationships are painful? Marriage is painful. It means it takes work. The most difficult thing we'll ever have to do is live with someone else or build something with someone else. Those of you who are in a business together, 2 people are in a business. You have to listen to another person. You have to compromise. You have to listen to how other people perceive you. I was at a meeting at Disney. This is like my first year as a director. I guess I'm kind of giving the answer away, right? But I eventually got into Disney. I'll tell you about that in a moment. But one day I was directing my first movie. And I was at this division of Disney. We worked on Winnie the Pooh and all these different movies. And there was another filmmaker who was making a movie. I'm trying to remember what movie it was. I think it was the Tinkerbell movie. Okay, that's the movie it was. And they brought all these writers and directors into a room, right? Thank you, Willie. I'm looking, Willie. There you go. Very wise man. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Love. Much love. Love seeing the people, man. Love it. And they bring these directors and writers into a room. And I was sitting at this big conference room with like 10 or 15 people. And the director who was struggling on the movie Tinkerbell stood up there and talked to us about what challenges he was having in his film. And we're all like creative leadership people. We're all sitting there thinking, and I'm wondering like how to solve this problem. And all of a sudden, I just get an idea. And in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm the brilliant one. I'm going to solve this director's problem, right? Hey, Katie Michelle just joined. How you doing? So the story that I'm telling right now is I'm in this boardroom with other Disney directors and writers. And there's another director who's working on his movie Tinkerbell. He's having trouble. We're all in there to give him advice. And all of a sudden, I've got like the $1 million fix in my head. And I'm like, oh, you got to do this. You got to do this. And I just start sharing what I'm thinking with everybody. But the way I do it, like I stand up and I get animated. I start drawing on a board and whatever. And then like the meeting's over and I leave and I feel like, wow, I just solved the world's crisis. I just split the atom. Look what I just did. Out of all those writers in the room, I'm the one who was the brilliant one. That's how I thought about myself. This is a long time ago, just so you know. So I leave the room, and later on, I get a an email from the director. And I think the email is going to be, he's going to thank me for all the help on his Tinkerbell movie. And he goes, can I be honest with you? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, you really bulldozed that room. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you shared your ideas, which I appreciated, but it became so much about you sharing your ideas that you never really listened to anyone else. And I remember I was just starting out as a director. And I remember thinking, this is almost 20 years ago. And I remember thinking like, wow, that's part of the leadership I need to learn. If you want to have a relationship with someone, you have to learn how to listen. And we hear it all the time. But I was like, yeah, but I'm right. I got the answer to your movie. It's not about whether you're right or not. It's about making a space for another person. And those are the kinds of qualities we need to have in life. So I send my portfolio into Disney, and I get a letter back that I got rejected. Like I said, I didn't care so much that I got rejected the first time. I didn't think I would get in the first time. And then finally, Andy and I go to the zoo, and we draw through the pain. And I want to tell everybody, just to finish that part of the story, that when you have the idea in your head, the perspective that there will be pain, it can motivate you to accomplish. It can motivate you to work through. Don't think that when you get married, it's the end of a Disney movie. Two people in a little carriage, the music, pixie dust. No, the wedding is the easy part. The next day is the hard part. Relationships take work, but as my wife always says, it's the best kind of work. Oh, somebody just wrote, you took that feedback as an opportunity to learn and grow. Now that is a leader. Yeah, thank you, Willie. Yeah, I did take that feedback to try to grow. By the way, that's why I got married. For everyone listening, you know why I got married? Because I can't grow alone. You can't. If you're going to really grow as a human being, you need to have somebody's perspective that you trust. That's the essence. That's the foundation of a great marriage. You have to be able to look into the eyes and see, you know what? You have a perspective that I need in life. And what do I need that perspective on? On me. I need someone to help me grow. So, I got my portfolio together with Andy, and we both sent in all our drawings to Disney. And at this point, Ryan, everybody knew if there's two people that are going to get into Disney, it's Saul and Andy, because these two guys never stopped drawing, right? And we were both really good. And Andy got into Disney. I still remember the day he called me up and said, Saul, I just heard, I got in. I'm like, wow. He said, but you didn't hear yet. I'm like, no, I didn't hear yet. They could be trying to call me right now. I got to hang up. We didn't have call waiting back then, right, Ryan? So I hang up the phone, I'm waiting, and Disney doesn't call. And I can't stand anymore. So I pick up the phone and I called them myself. Who does that? Well, I did. And I called the head of Disney. I'm like, hi, my name is Saul. I want to find out. He goes, yeah, Saul, I have your name on a list here. I'm like, really? And he goes, yeah, you didn't make it. I said, what? He goes, yeah, you didn't get in. I was like, oh, okay. Thank you. I hung up the phone. That was like a bittersweet moment in my life. Sweet because I was happy that my best friend got his dream at Disney. And I was shattered because my dream was over. I got rejected from Disney. Wasn't going to happen. And I went back to school. And I remember walking the halls of school. And people were coming up to me like, Saul, how come you didn't get into Disney? What happened? Oh, what are you doing here? Oh, where's Andy? Oh, he got in. You didn't. I felt like a loser. I became known as the guy that was friends with the guy that got into Disney. And then I came up with a brilliant way to take that feeling of being a loser away. And for anyone listening, if you ever have in your life a challenge that you don't accomplish and you feel like a loser for not doing it, then you do what I did and that feeling will go away in a second. You know what I did? I gave up. I gave up on the dream because reality set in. Who was I to think I could work at Disney? This is before Pixar existed, before Dreamworks. If you wanted a job in animation, the top gun, the best of the best was Walt Disney Studios. And that shoulder angel and devil that I spoke about earlier, that shoulder devil was like telling me, you can't accomplish. And I gave up on my dream. Hey, Daniel, Natalie just joined. Hey, guys, so happy you guys are here. And I gave up on my dream of wanting to be a Disney animator. There I was, a junior in college, and gave up on it. And it was a difficult time. You know, Ryan, I don't know if you can relate, if you've ever had in your life a time when you've wanted to give up, you know? You know, right? It's hard, right, to get through the day, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, you said so much there, and I could pick away so many things all the way back from Tim's story. I was tuned in then. I was thinking, Tim's story. I know this guy. You mentioned the green room, and I heard Tim's story tell me about the green room, right?
Oh yeah.
And I actually had the privilege to be invited into Tim Story's green room. And I sat there with him for like 20, 30 minutes and we just had a conversation. And it was one of the best conversations, if not the best conversation that I've ever had in the world and in my life even. And
Wow.
Tim Story said to me something that I remember and I'll never forget it. And I believe it's happened to you, Saul. He said, one single conversation could completely transform your life. And I
For
believe you've
sure.
had that conversation. Like you wanted to get into Disney, into Dreamworks, and you had that conversation. And along the journey, they were just guiding you on what you needed to do next. But it was down to you and you alone to take that uncomfortable action to put the work in. Like you mentioned, the people
Sure.
in the zoo, like you and your friend was out there, freezing cold, and you couldn't even draw because it was that cold. You were shivering and shaking. But everyone
Oh
else was
yeah.
just sat in the warm. They were in their comfort zone, staying warm. Like in life, if we as humans are not tested, we will never advance. Like we need to put ourselves in that center of discomfort
For
because that is the
sure.
place. That is the place where, say, your next level of life is in the center of discomfort. So again, yeah, I could take so much away. And you mentioned about, say, when you went into the boardroom and you just started drawing and all these pictures, and you were like, I've just solved everything there. And there's a quote. There's a quote that says, "Be interested rather than interesting." And I believe so many of us are, say, having a conversation like we're having now, and in their mind, they're ready to jump and take action to just reply and respond, rather than, say, take on
For
board what
sure.
that individual's had to say and do some active listening and listen to really what they've had to say and sort of pick away the best parts and allow them the space to talk and get everything off of their chest as well. Because I believe speaking is such a great skill in life. But an
Oh,
even
for
better
sure.
skill, or even art, I like to say, the art of listening is something that
Mm.
could almost take a lifetime to master.
For sure. Yeah. And you know, one of the things I tell my kids a lot, and I tell myself a lot, is every day that we wake up and we get ready in the morning and we leave our homes to go out into the world. And you go out, you're going shopping or you're going to work or a job. Think about right before you pass through your doorway. Just stop before you walk through the doorway and think for a moment, what kind of a world do I want to create today? You know, I'm Jewish, and in the Jewish religion, many people may know, next to our doorway, we have what's called a mezuzah. I don't know if you've ever seen that, Ryan. There's like a thing, you'll see it. Now that I tell you about it, you can actually tell where Jewish people live because outside every Jewish home is a little thing on the doorway called a mezuzah. And inside this little piece of art is a scroll that comes from the Bible. And people always ask the question, why are we commanded to put a piece of the Bible next to our doorway? And there was a beautiful response I once heard is that a doorway is a place of transition. You go from your home out into the world, you pass through that transition, and a mezuzah is an opportunity. And whether you're Jewish or not, we all pass through a doorway. So every day before you pass through that doorway, stop for a moment and ask yourself, I'm going out into the world. What kind of a world do I want to create? What am I living for? What am I hoping to accomplish today? Am I hoping I'm going to go through to here? I'm going to, I tell this to my kids, you're going to go to school today and you're just going to do great at sports or get a great grade. Okay, that's good. But what else? How about this mindset? I'm walking through a doorway to go out into the world. I want to change the world today. How about this? I want to grow as a human being today. If you come in at the end of the day, this goes for us. If you come in at the end of the day and the only thing different about you is you're 10 hours older and maybe you have bags that you just bought from a store of more clothing or you had a good lunch and that's all you did today, you wasted your day. You see, life can't just be, I'm going to go out into the world and get more money, get more great food, great more clothing or buy. Life has to be, I came home at the end of the day and I became a different person. I grew as a human being. You know, Ryan, are you a parent? Are you a parent or not yet?
No, I'm not yet. No.
Okay, so Ryan, you're going to be a great dad. I can tell already because you smile a lot, and it's a great way to lift kids up. Is just smile at them. It's a great thing, and that's for all of us in life. You walk down the street, you smile at someone. Jamie KK, struggle to pass through my doorway. We all do. Listen to this. Listen to this. When you watch a kid do anything, it's life-changing. Anyone who's a parent knows that about 1 year old, 99% of kids will start to become walkers. They start to walk. They went from crawling to walking. And 99% of us on this call right now also did that one day. We went from crawling to walking. Did you ever watch a kid become a walker from a crawler? Has anyone ever seen that? Because if you've seen that, it's unbelievable. Because this is what happens. They're crawling. They see all their human people around them, their parents or adults around them walking. They start to take that first step and they fall on their butt. Boom. Now, truth is, at that moment, can a kid actually walk? No. They can't walk. All they can do is take a step and fall. They don't have the agility. They don't have the coordination to walk. You know when they're probably going to be walking? 2 or 3 weeks from now. 2 or 3 weeks or maybe even a month from when they take their first step. They fall down. But good luck telling a kid, you should stop trying. It won't work. Because they don't see failing and falling as a limitation. All they see it is a natural progression to learning. Yesterday, don't tell my daughter I'm telling you this. Yesterday, I took my daughter. Yes, I have it in but I can't be the person for my daughter. I'm a parent and still struggle. Oh, so you're the normal one, Jamie, just so you know. We all struggle, my friend, all of us. So yesterday, I took my teenage daughter driving. This is true. Happened yesterday. She's only been driving for 1 day, right? She just got her permit, and we hired this guy who takes her out for like a couple hours in his car and teaches her how to drive a little bit. So now she's going to drive with daddy. This happened yesterday. Now she's going to drive with daddy. And I get in my car, and she gets in there, and she's very proud. She has her permit. She adjusts the mirrors. She gets the seat right. Everything is right, showing me how responsible it is. She pulls out, and after like 2 minutes, she's going to make a right on red, but she doesn't really look to the left like she's supposed to if you're making a right on red. And there's a car coming, and I just tell her, stop. And she doesn't know what to do. She's not stopping. She's like, she keeps going. I'm like, you got to stop. And I yelled at her for a second. And it frazzled her. I didn't even tell this to my wife. My wife's going to watch. She's like, that's what happened yesterday. So I'm like, stop. And she gets a little frazzled. She pulls the car over, and she's almost in tears. I'm like, why are you in tears? And she goes, because I want you to think of me as a good driver. I want you to think of me as a good driver. She's so proud to show her dad that she could drive. You know how many hours she's actually driven behind a real car at this point in her life? A total of 4 hours in her life. That's it. And you know what I said to her? Don't be a good driver. Be a good learner. Be a good student. And I said to her, I love you, but you are not a good driver yet because you've only driven for 4 hours in your entire life. It is not possible for you to be a good driver, but you can be a good student. You see, so often we get our mind to think about the goal that we want to accomplish. I want to be this. Why? Because I want to identify myself as an artist. I tell artists all the time, don't have the goal of becoming a great artist. Have the goal of learning every time you draw. That's it. And when you do that, okay, someday you'll become a good driver. You'll become a good artist. That little kid that takes those first steps, they're going through that struggle, but they know they're going to become something great. You know, there's a great line I once heard. We're not human beings. We're human becomings. We grow, we evolve, we change. Isn't that beautiful? Said by an incredible man, David Aaron, an author. We're not human beings. We're human becomings. We grow, we evolve. That's the message we really need to walk away from this kind of a talk from. I want to grow and evolve. And when we walk through our doorway, at the end of the day, we, even as adults, can grow just as much as a kid does. You look at a 1-year-old compared to a 2-year-old, it's incredible. Not only can they walk, they can run, Their vocabulary is expansive. They don't shut up for a minute. Ask a parent who picks their 2-year-old or 3-year-old up from school. Does the kid talk about their day? They don't not talk about their day. You pick up a teenager, a high school kid from school, and you ask that high school kid, tell me about your day. What'd you do today? What does the kid say? I didn't do anything. Nothing happened. Everyone who has teenagers knows what I'm talking about. How was your day? Good. What'd you do? Nothing. Yeah? Pick a 3-year-old up, pick a 4-year-old up from school. They're going to tell you every single thing they did. I walked in, I tied my shoe, I went to the bathroom, I wiped myself, I washed my hands, they did soap. You're like, dude, can you tell me less? They tell you so much. Because they're growing so much. Kids grow every month so much. But guess what? We can grow that much too. You're 30 years old. You should be much more expansive in everything that you can do. Your abilities, your perception, your humility. We should grow who we are every day. And 30 compared to 29 should be the same as from a 1-year-old to a crawler to a walker. We should grow every day. That's the goal we have to have in life. And eventually, Ryan, I called up Disney and I asked them after I got rejected, I said, why did you reject me? I called them up on the phone. I called them back and they said, look, you need to work on perspective in your drawing. Don't draw from where you're standing. Stand on a stool, stand on things. I remember them saying to me, give us something dynamic. Well, to me, that was the answer key to growing. So I got my portfolio together, did better drawings, worked harder, sent it into Disney, and boom. When you wish upon a star, I got into Disney and started working on the film Pocahontas. This is BF, everybody, before Frozen. Started working on Pocahontas, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Mulan, Tarzan. Eventually became a director at Disney, directed a Winnie the Pooh movie. I directed a show, I don't know if any of you heard of. It was called Doc Mcstuffins. It was the biggest show in the world 8 years ago. I'm just saying. Did a bunch of Netflix shows. Today I'm a producer at Dreamworks on a show, Madagascar, A Little Wild. It's a preschool show for kids. And by the way, I'll just show you guys. I'll just tell you, when I got into Disney, everything had to start all over again. I had to start working hard again. And the very first day, I'll never forget, they called me in. And they called the interns in and they said, you guys, from now on, we're going to teach you how to draw Mickey Mouse. And from now on, you have to know how to draw Mickey because it better be a Mickey. I'm going to show you guys right now. Here we go. Let's see if I can do this still. Here we go. I'm going to show you guys quickly. This is how we construct our characters. Not so simple at this angle. There we go. This is the mouse himself. Walt Disney used to say, don't forget, it all started with a mouse. There we go. And the people at Disney said to us, my instructors said, from the rest of your life, whenever you draw Mickey, it better be a Mickey. So they taught us the right way to draw him. And I always loved the idea that I was part of a company that was so big. It really humbled me. And it made me feel just lucky and fortunate to be working for that company. I remember one time this old guy came up to me and he said, thanks for working on Fantasia. And I said, I didn't work on Fantasia. That was made in the 40s. And then I realized he knew that I wasn't around in the 40s. He was just thanking me for being part of this company that had such an impact on his life. And that's where I realized it was much bigger than me. Okay, there he is, guys. It all started with a mouse.
Wow.
There's a little something for your audience. And here, I'll do another one real quick. Something else. Let's see if you guys can tell who this is, okay? Let's see if you guys can tell. Let's see if our guests on our audience can tell what character this is. This is one of my favorite characters to draw. Okay, this is not optimal to draw holding paper in the air, but let's see. Let's see if anybody can tell who this is. Yeah, and let's see if anyone can tell what Disney character this is. This is probably one of my favorite characters of all time. Let's see. Anybody know? Anybody know? Ryan, you don't know yet?
I think I do, yeah. We got
it.
Yeah, we got some answers already.
Winnie the Pooh.
Vinnie the Pooh, we got
the Italian
that.
version. Hey, how you doing? Winnie the Pooh, how you doing? All right, here we go. So let's finish off Winnie the Pooh. And I love this character, and I love Tigger, and I love all of them. And the first movie I directed was Winnie the Pooh Springtime with Rue. There you go. There's Winnie the Pooh drawn in the air. That's crazy. Give it up for Winnie the Pooh. I think I'll have a smackerel of honey. Yeah, so look, I loved, should we draw one more? Okay, one more real quick. And I'm going to draw for you my favorite character, but I got to lean on something because this is hard. All right, here we go. Let's see if you guys know this one. Is this fun for you guys? Is this better for me to draw? Talk less, draw more? Okay, here we
Oh,
go.
this is amazing. Seriously,
All right,
guys,
here we go.
in the comments, let's try and guess it before Sal's finished it.
Okay, this is a hard one. And by the way, while I'm drawing, if anyone has any questions about Disney animation or anything, I'd be happy to answer. So, Ryan, you can read those off because I can't look at the same time.
Yeah, I will do.
If anyone has any questions about Disney animation, it takes 4 years, by the way, to make a Disney movie.
Wow.
People don't realize how long it takes. It takes like 4.5 years. I worked on Mulan for 4 years. I was an animator on the character Shang. This is not Shang, don't worry. That would be too easy for you guys. Okay. We're starting here. Hold on. And yeah, 4 years to make a movie. Here we go. Let's put some ears on here. A neck. Necks are good. You can't really tell yet who this is. You will in a second.
Oh, we got guesses. We got guesses in already.
Oh, yeah, I got it. It's Aladdin. There you go. Wow, amazing, Yael. Good job. One jump ahead of the bread line. He's like one of my favorite characters to draw. Here we go. Watch what happens when I put the hair on, guys. That's when it really kind of feels like the character. There we go. And his hat. You guys seeing this? Here we go. But I got to tell you, like for me in my life personally, like as fun as it has been to work at Disney and work in animation and do all of these, work on these fun movies that really impact people, I don't really see it as I'm living just to draw. I really look for opportunities to look at one head in front of the jump line. Jump line? I don't think that's the word. One head in front of the bread line. It's the bread line. One head in front of the bread line. One something ahead of the sword. No, I don't remember. Anyway, so here we go. Here's a taste of Disney, guys, for you. You got Winnie the Pooh, you got Mickey Mouse, and you got Aladdin. There you go. A taste of Disney World right here on Instagram. But let me just end with this idea. One of the movies that I did not work on that always inspired me, so breadline, is the movie The Lion King. Right? I mean, what an inspiring movie. That was the biggest animated movie in the world before Frozen, by the way, for Disney. Just a huge movie. But in that movie embodies a message. The message is greatness isn't being able to do whatever you want. Think about after Mufasa dies. Hope I didn't spoil the movie for anybody. Think about after Mufasa dies, right? Simba goes off into Hakuna Matata world. Hakuna Matata means no worries, no responsibilities. And he's living in the Garden of Eden. I mean, it's amazing. There's waterfalls and lush flowers. He's on a hammock. He's in a jacuzzi. It's like a vacation destination. Why would you want to leave? And when Nala shows up and says, Simba, you got to come back with me. Scar's taking over everything. He's like, no, Hakuna Matata, I'm staying here. She's like, no, you don't understand. Scar's taking over everything. And if you don't come back with me, everyone's going to die. And you are responsible. Then you know what he says? Hakuna Matata, I'm staying right here. She's like, I can't believe you. And she leaves him. She actually sings, why won't he be the king? I know he is the king I see inside. When are you going to grow up? When are you going to be a man, a lion, whatever? When are you going to be great? He's left alone. Rafiki comes, hits him on the head. He sees his father, right? Remember who you are. Simba goes back and Lion King becomes the biggest animated movie of all time. Not because we love movies about lions, because that movie gives us a taste of what real greatness is. You know what being a king is? You know what being a queen is? You know what being great is? Waking up every day with one goal. How do I take responsibility for the world? What does it mean? It means wherever in my life I have the ability to respond, I'm responsible. Responsibility is the ability to respond. Wherever in my life I can make a difference. And so, yeah, I love to draw. I love to draw. Do I love drawing Mickey Mouse? Yeah, I can draw Mickey Mouse all day because I love to draw, but my life's not about me. It's about, can I do something? Can I use my passion, my love of whatever, my ambition to use that skill to impact another person, to make a difference? You know, Winston Churchill had the most beautiful quote. My wife and I always quote this. Listen to what he said. He said, we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. Each one of us should approach our day before we walk through those doorways of life with the goal that we want to grow as human beings, that it's going to take work to grow as a human being, to become a better version of ourselves. But that's the test of what life is really about. Look, someday I'm going to be dead. I'm going to be in the ground. It's not morbid, it's reality. And what are my kids going to remember? Oh, my dad could draw Mickey Mouse. Okay. Maybe they'll hopefully remember something else. Maybe they'll remember, you know, my dad tried to become a better person. My dad woke up with the goal of trying to impact other people. That's the goal that I have for my life. That's the goal I have for each of you. And I thank you so much for giving me time. And Ryan, you're an incredible, sincere, wonderful guy. And I thank everyone on here who just joined a little late, but you can watch it again, right? Can they watch this?
Yeah, they can do. So I'm going to save this after. I'm going to download it and I'm going to cut it up and use it as reels as well, because there's so many little knowledge bombs that you dropped today, Saul. So, wow.
Awesome.
Absolutely
Awesome.
incredible, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me, man.
I'm
really
honestly,
good to see
I'm
everybody
lost
on.
for words, seriously, and I'm sure everybody else is as well. Like, that was absolutely incredible. So, just a couple of things that I sort of took away from that last sort of section you said there, Saul. And really, I want to say to everyone, just in life, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes progress and eventually makes permanent. And that's exactly what you've done there, Saul. You practiced, you showed up every day, you've taken that uncomfortable action, you put the work in when others won't. And you've got the reward, you got the result. And there was many times where you got the knockbacks, the setbacks. But just look at every setback in your life as a set up. But it's down to you to keep moving forwards.
Just keep swimming, right? Just keep swimming, Dory says.
Wow. So I usually end on 5 quick questions. Did you want to go through these 5 quick questions quick?
Let's do it quick, because I'm actually being interviewed on another podcast in 1 minute.
Let's go
quick. Here we go.
Let's go. Right, number 1. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received and why?
The best advice I ever received is one of my teachers, when I got rejected from Disney. He was a teacher, Mr. Tolstead, in college. And he said to me, can you control whether Disney says yes or no? I said, no. He says, can you control how good other artists are that you're competing with? And I said, no. He says, so what can you control? And I said, I can control how good I am as an artist. He's like, no, you can't. And he said to me this, the only thing you can control in your life is the investment you make, is how hard you work. The outcome is not up to you. The only thing that we can control in our lives is how hard we work. The outcome is not up to us. And then he told me to take out a piece of paper and write this down. I took out a piece of paper and I wrote down what he told me. He said, write this down. Nobody worked harder today than me. Nobody worked harder today than me. If you can't say those words and it's true, you don't go to bed. I put it up over my desk, and that's the best piece of advice I ever got. Boom. Question 4.
Wow, that's crazy. That is amazing piece of advice there. So number 2, what is the worst piece of advice that you've ever received and acted on, and what was the result?
Yeah, just that advice when I was in high school and someone told me, don't become a filmmaker because you'll end up strange and weird. And I listened to that person and I gave up on my dream of wanting to be a filmmaker for a year or a year and a half until I saw The Little Mermaid. But yeah, don't let others define how you feel about yourself. That's what I learned from that.
Yeah, I mean, even the next question that I have, I feel like it's sort of very similar to that. So the next one would be, because life's about learning and progressing in life too, but it's also a lot about unlearning stuff. So I wanted to ask you, say, what did you have to unlearn, or what was the main thing that you had to unlearn through your childhood growing up?
Just how we how we look at ourselves compared to other people. There was a woman, Margaret Mead, had an amazing quote she would say to her kids. She said, don't ever forget you're created unique and special, just like everyone else. You see, we think being unique and special is I have to be better than everyone. Why is it that we feel much better about ourselves if we beat the other sports team instead of just tying the other sports team? See two kids on two teams, and they tie the baseball game. It was a tie. They're like, yeah, it was good. But when they win, it feels better. Why? Because usually we feel better about ourselves when we can compare ourselves to other people. You want to feel good about yourself? Just know one thing. Did I give it 110%? Boom. Did I give that game everything I had? That should give me the feeling of what real accomplishment is. Even you can feel that if you lose. You can still feel that. Don't compare yourselves to other people because each one of us is unique and we are all unique. There's only one of you in the world. That's for each one of us. And because we're unique, we have to have a unique purpose. Stop worrying about what everyone else is doing and focus on you.
Wow, that's so powerful because I believe we're all born ourselves, but most die someone else. So just
Right,
focus on being the
beautiful.
best version of yourself. So the next question, Saul, would be, what is
I'll
the
give you a great quote
greatest?
on that. Before you ask that question, I
Yeah,
have a
go,
great
go,
quote. It's, I don't want to screw it up, but for those God-fearing people, you'll appreciate this. Who we are is God's gift to us, but who we become is our gift to God. That's
Wow.
awesome. I love that quote. All right, let's
Wow,
go. You got
wow.
another one?
So next one would be, what is
TJ
the
Sullivan, my dear friend, just joined. So happy.
wow? So the next question would be, what is the greatest lesson that you learned from your most painful life experience?
The greatest lesson I learned from my most painful life experience. Um, ooh, the most painful life experience I've had in my life is losing people that I love, especially in the last year and a half. I lost my cousin Danny. He died, a young guy, I mean, his 50s. And it shattered me. And I learned just to appreciate life more and to tell people how much I love them. I wish I told him again, even though I know he knew. When we lose people, it should remind us how fleeting life really is. As a matter of fact, there's a piece of Jewish wisdom that says if you have the opportunity to go to a wedding or a funeral, choose the funeral. And people are like, why would you go to a funeral? Because at a wedding, yeah, it's happy, it's joyous, you eat, you drink, it's fun, you dance, it's all joy. Who would want to go to a funeral? Because when we're at a funeral, each one of us is face to face with a concept. Someday that's going to be me. My life's going to be over. My life's work is going to end. And when we leave a funeral, it should motivate us to want to accomplish more. It doesn't mean money, and it doesn't mean status and respect from other people. You know what it means? I want to become a better version of myself. I want to grow as a human being. That's really the legacy I think each one of us needs to live.
I mean, death is definitely a motivator, and I say like, let the reality of death put urgency into living your life today.
Yeah,
Because
Steve Jobs used to talk about that.
you'll
Yeah,
never get this day again. So you need to
no,
make it count, right?
for
So,
sure.
Sal, final question, my friend. Knowing what you know now, what one piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
When I was so focused on wanting to work at Disney, I thought that I needed to work at Disney to be happy. Like I had an equation in my head. If I get to work at Disney, I will be a happy person. I actually told my sister on the phone once, I remember saying to her, if I get into Disney after I got rejected, I said to her, if I get into Disney, then I'll be happy. I could sit there and draw Mickey Mouse like I drew for all of you earlier. I could sit there at that desk and draw this character every day the rest of my life, and I'd be happy. But if I could go back to my younger self, you know what I would tell myself? Saul, grow up. Grow up. Life is not about sitting at a desk and drawing the same picture all day. Instead, it's about like I said earlier, how do I use my passions and my abilities to make the world a little bit brighter? How do I use my passions and abilities to take responsibility for the world? Because then you get something that's so much better than a life of happiness. You get a life of meaning. If you ask 99% of the world, what do you want out of life? They're all going to tell you, I want to be happy. And how do you be happy? When I get that money, when I get that job, when I get that girl, that guy, that car, that house. This is what we're saving for. This is what we're working for. Then I'll be happy. Guess what? When you get to those things, there'll be new things you want. Happiness should never be dependent on outside experiences. Instead, go for the gold. You know what the gold is? It's not the life of happiness. It's the life of meaning. And that you can have with no money in your bank, because meaning comes from, what am I working towards? What am I striving for? Am I the most humble person yet? No, I'm working on it. But I know I wake up every day with the clarity that I want to grow as a human being. That's a meaningful life. Am I a perfect parent? Do I yell at my kids sometimes? Do I want to control my anger? Yeah. But you know what? I want to work on that. I'm in my marriage. Do I have my navigation set for the right goal? Okay, I'm not a perfect husband yet, but I'm working towards it. That's a meaningful life.
Wow,
My
again,
sister's on, Sarah.
super,
Hi, Sarah.
super, super powerful again. I believe the meaning of life is to find your gift. But the purpose of life is to give it away.
There you
And
go.
success is subjective, right? So for me,
Oh, yeah.
success is a feeling that comes as a byproduct from moving closer to a desired destination on a daily basis. But
Beautiful.
never ever let somebody else decide, design, determine, or dictate your destiny. Ever.
Right. Right. We are in control of ourselves. Exactly. Exactly. All right. I got to jump to
We're
another
done.
podcast.
We are
I'm
done.
getting on
So
right
thank you
now.
so much, my friend. Thank you
Give me
so much.
one
Thank
more
you,
minute.
everybody, for coming here. So I just want to say thank you, my friend. That was incredible.
Thank you so much for having me. Good to
Absolutely
see
incredible.
everybody. Love seeing my friends on there. TJ, brother. What's up, brother? Thank you, man. Thanks, everybody. Ryan, you're the man. So grateful that you had me. Thank you so much. Looking forward to connecting more. Thank
See
you,
you soon, my
brother.
friend. Thank you. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye bye.